Please don't rain. Oh.
That is something. That is something.
Thank you to Squarespace for sponsoring this episode. More on this coming up. All right, so I just got a phone call from a buddy at Speed Sport, Brian. He said that his friend Ira, who's now in front of me, has a friend or a neighbor, I'm not exactly sure right now, an older gentleman who has a 68 Charger that's been sitting in one of these storage facilities for God knows how long. So kind of exciting here. We just got crushed with snow last night, so we're creeping in and we're gonna see a 68 Charger that hasn't seen the light of day in probably 2 decades. Pretty stoked. Nice to meet you. All right.
How are you?
I'm well. It's pretty cool. You got an old car sitting here. How long has it been in the storage?
I'm trying to figure it out, but
A couple years?
couple 30.
Couple 30, same thing. This is Jordan.
Hi, Jordan.
Nice to meet you.
Welcome to wherever we are here.
Is there anything I can do to help you?
I'm on a roll here.
All right, all right.
No.
Oh my gosh.
You want to talk about the bar 5?
That is absolutely incredible. This is a beautiful day. What do you plan on doing with this?
Well, we are going to restore it to as
Former glory?
the original as possible.
Oh yeah. You know, we find really, really bad ones. This is in reasonable shape. So I think the paint's gonna come right back. The interior looks decent as well. Is it still holding air or am I losing my mind? Those still holding air?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, we keep air in the tires.
There you go. Wow. Now, did you tool around on this thing? This is yours for years?
Well, yeah.
Causing havoc in Danbury roads?
My wife didn't like it. It's got turbo mufflers.
Oh, so it was really loud.
A little louder than necessary.
Isn't that the fun part, though?
I liked it.
Luckily, Kevin showed up and it was just before the rain. We pulled it out, but the brakes were locked up, making life a little bit more interesting. Peter, the owner, placed a scrap piece of cardboard underneath the tire to help it slide along the ground, which worked like a charm all the way up to the flatbed, made life way easier. At this point, it's the first time that she's seen daylight in roughly 30 years. It's always a special moment when I'm near a car the first time it comes out of any store. Wow, I can't believe that worked. Oh, I'm so excited. That is awesome. She's on the trailer. While Kevin was securing the Charger to the bed, Peter was back in the container sweeping the floor at 96 years old, which really made me stop and think for a second. He was born in 1929, which places him in what's referred to as the greatest generation. He lived through the Great Depression and the World War II aftermath of wartime production. In other words, the making of weapons and tools and so on. For whatever reason, seeing him clean up after the Charger was more impactful than the Charger itself. This is the same feeling that I get when I look at the Model T. It just works. It doesn't complain. It does its job and it keeps moving. Peter is the quintessence of the greatest generation. If I didn't have enough motivation to get the Charger back on the road before, after meeting Peter, I can assure you I certainly do now. You are something else. Good man. Squarespace is an all-in-one website platform for entrepreneurs to stand out and succeed online. Whether you're just starting out or managing a growing brand, Squarespace makes it easy to create a beautiful website, engage with your audience, and sell anything from products to content to time, all in one place and all on your terms. Start a completely personalized website with the new guided design system, Squarespace Blueprint. Choose from professionally curated layout and style options to build a unique online presence from the ground up, tailored to your brand or business and optimized for every device. Easily launch your website and get discovered fast with integrated optimized SEO tools so you show up more often to more people and grow the way you want. Squarespace makes checkout seamless for your customers with simple but powerful payment tools. Accept credit cards, PayPal, and Apple Pay, and in eligible countries, offer customers the option to buy now and pay later with Afterpay and ClearPay. Go to squarespace.com for your free trial, and when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/AMMONYC to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or a domain. Now, back to the Charger. With the Charger finally in the studio, you can really see just how dusty and dirty the car actually is. The 1968 Charger, of course, is one of the most iconic American muscle cars ever produced. It received a full redesign from the 1966-67 model, as the new design introduced the Coke bottle shape, giving it a sleek and aggressive look. It also packed a variety of engines, from the Slant 6 all the way to the mighty 426 Hemi. This one in particular had the 440 7.2-liter V8, complete with the six-pack setup, producing about 375 horse, and of course, was in the greatest car chase scene ever against Steve McQueen in Bullitt. Remember, the bad guys always drive a Charger. Anyhow, step one is a healthy power wash to see what's underneath all this dust and dirt. Top 5 I've ever found in my life. This is just incredible. What a moment. Next, I used foam soap on the paint and brute soap with a lower pH on the wheels. All right, after the power wash, you can see a lot of the dust came off, but if you look closely, there's still more that needs agitation. So we're gonna do a proper wash to do that. We're gonna put soap on it just to make sure it's lubricated. All right, we'll let that sit for a minute, but you can see it's just carrying away the rest of the dirt. We want to be extra careful. Single stage paint, original, oof, beautiful. Because I know we have a bit of engine work to do this week anyways, I was a little bit more aggressive with the cleaning on the engine area because it just needed it. To work the undercarriage, I first broke all the old lug nuts free, removed the wheels, and lifted the very heavy tank of a car in the air. All things considered, it wasn't in bad shape at all, but it needed some love nonetheless. For the undercarriage cleaning, first I power washed everything, then used Brute and Boost anti-salt additive to help remove any of the salts and the mineral deposits over all those years. I let it soak for a few minutes and then I give it a good scrub. And if you didn't believe it was dirty, look at the floor after just a quick rinse. Doesn't drain. Maybe floor number 5 will work. Yeah.
Next, I cleaned up the wheels, but they were not in great shape, pretty oxidized, just they weren't going to pop really well. So I went on wheelpros.com and ordered a similar style, but a more modern version of that same American Racing wheel called American Racing Groove, flow-formed aluminum in a staggered 18 and 20 setup, because I do like the way that it was pitched, very aggressive. Anyhow, in the meantime, I wanted to have the originals cleaned up just a bit in case he decides to keep them as well, or refinish them, or do whatever he's going to do with it, so I cleaned those. With the exterior now cleaner, I turned my focus to the interior mold.
Now, all things considered, this interior is actually not that bad. Obviously, you can see there's mold here. There's a little bit of smell going on. Now, relative to all the cars I've ever done, it's actually in pretty good condition. Here's a couple of reasons why. Number one, you saw that we took it out of that storage container. The interior, the black is actually relatively deep and rich, not like the M6 that just got beat up by the UV rays. The second thing is when you store it in a facility that doesn't allow tons of moisture to go in, yes, there was a couple of drips on the hood, I did see that, you're gonna prevent mold and moisture from growing. Now, the third thing that's a little bit more obscure is most people think that you just want to put saran wrap on the car and put it away. What happens then is the airflow doesn't go in and out of the car, and if there is any moisture in there, which is usually around the steering wheel, a little bit of bacteria, a little tiny moisture, there's just moisture everywhere in a car, you're going to grow a lot of bacteria. This case, if you notice, these windows are not necessarily airtight or watertight. So when you can see there's some marks here. When I power washed it, water came through. So I said, okay, good. There's a little bit of airflow in here. So all of that kind of contributed to the fact that it's decent in here. The steps we're going to take, number one, use lather. We're just going to quickly, kind of down and dirty, scoop everything off and just remove the mold to make sure everything is in good shape. The second thing, we're going to go in with lather again and a steam machine, steam it all, make sure we get the last like 5 or 10% of any bacteria. Then finally, we'll go in with digest, let it sit just in case there's any bacteria, particularly on the floor. We always find mice inside cars, so there's fecal matter there. And when it comes to the carpet, we're going to shag and clean it. However, because this is such in decent shape, I'm going to let the reservoir dictate how much I'm going to do in the interior. What I mean by that is typically we remove the seats. I'm not sure I need to do that. So I'm going to shampoo everything, then look at the reservoir. And if it's relatively clean, then I can continue on without having to disassemble the interior unnecessarily. The last thing I'll leave you with is if you do store a car, crack the windows just a little bit just to keep the airflow, and you'll have an interior that has very minimal mold like this one here. Oh, scared me. Of all the cars I've done, I would say this one is probably top 5, top 10 of like, oh yeah, you could totally get this back on the road in a reasonable amount of money.
I was playing on top of the car. My mother was in the house, my father was at work, and I slid down off the roof, and somehow something on the blade, it was just like this, knifed my foot, and I had a gash halfway up my foot.
Really?
Yeah.
Gosh.
I mean, it was like a flap of skin.
I was on a Ford F-350 and I was changing the fan belt because I bought it from my uncle and it had a huge fan belt, 350 diesel, like extended cab, and I'm sitting on the engine facing out and I'm trying to like wrench the whatever that pulley arm is to try to loosen the fan belt, tension area, whatever it is. And I was doing that, and I was like, okay, I need to go get another wrench. And so I hopped off. Mind you, I'm sitting on the engine looking this way because I had a lever, and I jumped off and the hook, the bottom hook, caught me right in the coccyx bone. It caught me enough where I jumped off the car, right? And as I jumped off, it caught here, and I went face planted on the ground, passed out from the pain, and my neighbor came and picked me up and called my mom. I was bleeding from the butt.
Next, I vacuumed the carpet. Then I vacuumed and cleaned out the trunk, which of course had our mouse nest, poop, and urine. We can't have a car without that. But the original trunk mat was well worth all of that effort. How cool is this design? As my last cleaning step, I sprayed Digest from the bottle, or if you're in a professional setting, you can use the electrostatic sprayer for better or more even coverage. Allow it to sit for the allotted time, then wipe dry before starting the steam and vac phase on the carpets. Next up, I started the paint restoration process with a 50-50 test spot on the hood. I have to tell you, I love preserving single stage red paint in particular. I don't know what it is, it always seems to come back brighter and better than it was on the day that it was manufactured. Red paint, single stage, my favorite by far. Okay, at this point in the process, I've done about half the car, and there's some interesting things going on with respect to the pad. So first thing I did was I used a wool pad. Now you can see there's a ton of oxidation on the paint, and you would think wool pad makes sense, which it does. But in this case, because the wool pad cuts so much, there's so much residue coming off, it sticks to the pad and then makes it so that you can't really cut anymore. The analogy I'd like to use is you take a big apple, you jam it in your mouth. Once you have that apple in there, you can't get more food in. Same kind of concept here. So then I switched to the foam pad. Now the foam pad is really good at managing the residue that's coming off the single stage paint. But in this case, because there's so much oxidation and because there's so much paint here, you are gonna go through more pads. Now typically what I like to do is use compressed air and blow a lot of that residue out. But over time, it's gonna get just jammed so deep into the pad that it's not gonna come out, and then you switch to the next pad. Same thing, you switch to the next pad, and so on and so forth. So the moral of the story is you are gonna need to use a lot more pads when there is a lot of oxidation like this, because you will feel the overloading of the pad within the machine. In other words, if you had, let's say one of your wheel weights fall off, and you can feel it in the steering wheel that it's not balanced properly, that's what's going on through the machine, and you don't want that because you can get some weird tick marks and things in the paint. So
just simply switch it out and then use a new one. Now, to clean these, because air is not working, you are gonna put them in a wash bucket, warm water, a little bit of Revive, kind of squish them in and out, then pull them out, dry them out, and then put them back in the rotation. And so the moral of the story here is, it's okay to go through 4, 5, even 6 pads just to kind of keep the pad clean so that you have a much cleaner finish when you're done, especially on single stage paints. Later that day, Tom from Ace came over again just for a quick assessment of what would need to get done to get her running. Just get the lay of the land so he can get some tools and equipment for the next day.
68, so 68, this thing has a 6-pack on it. So 68 actually did not come with that. That was 69.5, but someone obviously made a little hot rod out of this thing.
Based on the guy that, you know, when I met him, I feel like he's one of those guys that's like, then I did this and then I did that, because he was like, I used to get all the girls and the birds with this car, you know, that kind of thing. So I feel like he's a modder. Yeah. So to me, it makes sense that, you know, the original's a 383, and from what I'm seeing and what I'm feeling, what I'm thinking is this is a 440.
That's a 440 6-pack. He's got some headers on there. So this is like prime 70s hot rod. This is awesome. So let's see if it's got any juice, man. All right. Everybody watch their socks.
I've never heard that before.
I might not have made it down there. All the stuff is intact. This would be, if we didn't have that, we'd be negatory, sir.
Got it.
And we do not have any brakes, right to the floor.
Just how I like it.
Just how you like it. No brakes, it doesn't run.
No brakes, no problem.
All right, we gave it a good college try.
But it turns over, so like.
That's huge, huge, huge win. I'll take that.
And the windshield wipers work.
And the wipers work.
All right, so.
You don't have to be good if you look good, you know?
Jordan knows what's up. All right, so what's the game plan now?
All right, so carburetor off. I could check spark even with all that stuff off. And if we have no spark, those two, balance resistor and ignition relay. Very simple, get those two, put those in. There's like 10 parts that could go wrong for this car not to run.
This is like an advanced Model T where the guy was like, there's like 7 parts, like I'll just get 7 of them.
That's
and it'll
it.
be fine.
Yeah. This is a good find. You want to get a hammer? We'll just hit the seats just for fun, you know, just like usual. There we go. This is the Dom Toretto.
With our game plan to remove and rebuild the carbs and replace a few parts and test again, etc., Tom went back to Ace to order some parts, and I finished up the rest of the paint and bright work with the 3-inch pads. I think paste wax is underrated these days in favor of coatings. Now, coatings are great and they're very useful, I get that, but applying a proper carnauba wax is a pure pleasure, especially on older cars, single stage paints, that kind of thing. It feels right, so I'm encouraging you to use carnauba wax. On the interior, I added mousse to the vinyl and plastics for protection and suppleness. Now, on vinyls and pleathers, be sure to really buff the surface to a matte finish, as these types of materials are not going to absorb as well as proper leather. Finally, I cleaned up the kick panels and the door jambs before really scrubbing the grimy windows with Obey and a scrub pad, and the car was really starting to come back to life.
The 1968 Charger is not necessarily known for its subtlety. This is more of a kick you in the teeth type car. But if you look in the interior here on the dashboard, you can see some really cool nuances. This one in particular, this symbol is a frat zog. Now the frat zog was designed to sort of exemplify the innovation in the 1968 Charger. New and advanced and really cool things. And the symbol itself kind of looks like Star Trek, that kind of thing. So it's futuristic. Now what's cool is in 2021, they brought this back for the all-new electric Dodge. And so this symbolizes a lot of the futuristic design specifically in this car. The second thing is if you look up here, you have seatbelt holders both on the driver's side and the passenger side and in the rear footwell. Now what's interesting is in 1968, the US government mandated that all new cars have seatbelts. However, it wasn't until the late 80s, early 90s that there was a law saying that you actually had to wear them. So in this case, you could tuck away your seatbelt both here and on the passenger side. There's little clips to make it nice and neat. And the theory is from Dodge was you didn't want to have the seatbelts get caught between the seats because that would be really annoying. So you can plug them in, have them look really cute and nice, but you didn't have to wear them at the time.
As I mentioned earlier, after a few hours of soaking in Revive, the pads are ready to go back into the polishing rotation, as I call them, for the next job. So they'll dry out. I'll be able to take them out of the draw and just use them on any other car, but really take the time to clean them properly. The next day, Tom and Tom Sr. came over to play around with the car again and to remove the 3 carburetors from the manifold. With the carbs now back at Ace, Tom Sr. was holding class on what it takes to properly build a Holley 6-pack.
So what do we got here? Look a little dirty.
Yeah, so that's what we're doing. These just came out of the ultrasonic cleaner.
Yep.
We cleaned them all up and they're ready to, they're all dried up. They're ready to be assembled. We have these kits that Holley sent us. Always use original Holley kits whenever you work on any Holley carburetors. Do not use any aftermarket kits because these have everything you need. The only thing you have to worry about is you have to save the old gasket. The reason you save those is because the kits come with so many different gaskets.
Oh, I see that like right here.
You
yeah.
have to match every one of them because they're all different. When you take it apart, you know, you have to concentrate or take photos of how you take everything apart. I've done so many of them that I know how they go. They're not that difficult. You just have to concentrate. So I matched all these up already.
All right, so what's the next step?
All right, the next step is these are already cleaned and ready to go, so we're going to assemble these. We have the right gasket, which is the combination bowl gasket and plate gasket. Then you have your separator plate.
What does that do?
This separator plate is for your metering plate. These carburetors don't have accelerator pumps because they're the front and rear carburetors. When you go full throttle or 3/4 throttle, these open up through these diaphragms.
Oh, like these guys here, I see it.
Right, see that diaphragm?
Yeah.
This carburetor takes that diaphragm as well. And Holley gave us new diaphragms.
It's like a big jigsaw puzzle.
Yes, it's a big jigsaw puzzle. But you can see, you know, everything has pins, has alignment pins, so it's not that difficult. You know, and then you have your separator plate, which is your metering plate that goes in between, like so. And then what I do is I fit it to the combination bowl gasket separator plate. I fit it in there to make sure everything is right, and it is. And then you transfer it down onto the main body, like so. And then you feel around, and there we go. So it clicked in. See. Now this particular carburetor has special screws on the separator plate.
What is that about?
That's a clutch drive. Okay, that's a clutch drive, and also they have serrations on here. You can see these little serrations.
Yeah.
They're very important. That keeps this tight.
How do you screw that?
Well, we have a special screwdriver.
This thing
right
here?
there we go. We use a little silicone dielectric on all the screws to keep corrosion down. So when we put the screws in, they go in really nice and easy. Very nice and easy. Like so. And then you put them in just a little bit because you want to get them all in before you cinch them down. But you have to go around a couple of times because it sinks in. It sinks into the gaskets. You see how like they were tight, now they're loose.
Yeah, I do see that.
So now basically that main body is done.
Okay.
The flow chamber. Flow chamber and bowls, okay, hold a needle and seat, which lets the gas in. So these are all good. I checked these floats already. These floats are good. So what you do is you place them in, okay, and you have these special screws, these little screws. The other thing you want to make sure is you use a screwdriver that's correct for the screw. A lot of guys, they'll use one screwdriver for everything, and that's wrong.
Why?
Because you can screw the the slots up. You want to make sure it's a nice fit screwdriver and that it's wide enough. Now, when the fuel comes in, you have your needle and seat. This shuts off the fuel. See this little valve here? This little valve goes up
yeah,
and
I see it
down.
going up.
And on a Holley, it's very, very important to use silicone dielectric on the O-rings because you don't want to rip them when you put them in. A lot of people put them in dry, and that's a problem. So when they go in nice and smooth.
That adjusts how much fuel goes into here?
That adjusts how high the fuel level is in the bowl. So now what you do is you bring it up, and there we go. We're just about in the center. Naturally, this has to be sealed because the fuel comes in under 6 pounds of fuel pressure. So Holley gives you these little special gaskets. It's keyed, so you can pop it in, so it fell right in. And then you have the adjusting screw that locks it down, and then it also has a gasket, and then you tighten that up. You get a 5/8 wrench, and then you just snug it down a little bit. Not too much because this is aluminum, and then we get carburetors that the guys pull the threads out of these.
Really?
And once you do that,
Whatever.
original of these carburetors, they go anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000 because
For the three of them?
for the three of them.
Wow.
Because this setup is very, very rare. And naturally, the Dodge guys, Chrysler guys, they want these. And this guy goes right on here, like so. And there it is. So now what I did is I have these already cleaned up, and the new Holley gaskets on it. Everything's clean, silicone dielectric, and in we go. We won't use our small screwdriver, we'll use our big screwdrivers, because see how nice it fits that slot?
Yeah.
That's what you want. You want a nice fitting screwdriver in there. You go down a little at a time, like crosswise. It's kind of important. So now the main body is done. So now what we do here is we're going to put the throttle plate on, and we have the correct gasket. You can see that it self-aligns itself.
So that's all those little things are for?
Yeah, those little couple of little pins. You line it up, drop it in there, and line it up. There you go. That throttle plate is on correctly. I already pre-lubed these with silicone dielectric, and that's a Phillip. So we have our special Phillip here that we're using. Like I say, one at a time. Okay. There you go. One rebuilt end carburetor, 446 pack.
2 more to go. To update the look and feel of the Charger with the new groove wheels from American Racing, we also got way better tires with the Quatrac Pros from Vredestein. If you don't know, Vredestein is a European tire manufacturer with over a 110-year history of innovation in design, safety, and all-weather performance. The Quatrac Pro is a grand touring all-weather tire with comfortable ride and high performance in all 4 seasons. The Zigzag Sipes earned these tires its 3-peak mountain snowflake designation, which everyone wants, and of course the look of the sidewall from Giugiaro Design are going to give this Charger the final touch it needs for its fresh look after 30 years of being tucked away. Okay, now for round 2 with the rebuilt carburetors, the boys reinstalled them, replaced the fuel pump and the fuel filter.
This is a plastic fuel filter, okay? Never use those.
With the fuel pump, filter, and lines replaced, Senior primed the bowl with some fuel and then checked to see if the carbs were functioning as planned.
So every pumps are working.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, so the gas tank, we don't know the condition of the gas tank or the lines or anything, so just to see temporarily if it runs, we are just going to stick the hose from the fuel pump into this pre-mixed gas that we have here.
Now.
Ready?
Yeah.
Let's go. All right, hold it for a second. Go ahead.
After round 2, she was pretty close, but still not firing, likely because there wasn't enough or proper spark. So Senior tested the distributor, and while doing so, found the fuel line leaking, which of course he predicted was going to happen earlier, so Tom had to tighten it up.
Okay.
Let's give it a crank and you'll see it blink. There you go. So we have spark. It's being a little stubborn. It should have went. Tomorrow what we'll do is we'll check the compression and we'll fix all these fuel leaks. And we'll go from there because we don't want to start this with fuel leaks. That's out of the question.
For the start of round 3, Senior removed the old fuel lines and handmade soft lines to avoid those leaks he mentioned earlier, while Tom was replacing the ignition wires and plugs. But check this out, one of the brand new plugs that came out of the box had a crack in it while we were testing the spark. So keep that in mind. You always want to test even your brand new spark plugs.
Oh, it's there. It's definitely there. Oh, wow.
I do have that spark tester here.
I've never seen you move that fast.
After a quick test fire, again, still a no-go. So we were scratching our head a little bit here.
Nope, dry as a bone. I don't smell gas on there at all. Should we pull this valve cover quick and see what it looks like?
So with that, we pulled the valve covers off just to check the valve train operation and to see if there was any broken rocker arms or collapsed lifters. And of course, everything was fine. Then we tested the compression and it was super low. Should have been around 120 pounds or so, but it was only 60. Is it staying now?
Yep.
Ooh, that's low.
After the compression test, Tom then pulled the brand new plug that we just put in and it looked like this. So at this point, we knew this was not a good sign, but we did have one last hope before declaring her dead.
So when we did the compression test, unfortunately, we did have a few cylinders that were low. We put some mystery oil in the cylinders, we took the rockers off, the valve covers, and we put mystery oil right on top of the valves just to free them up. Yeah. So then we stuck compressed air in the cylinder in hopes everything would seal. We had a bunch of air coming out of here, which would indicate that the valves were stuck open, but after working them, finally, they are sealed enough where I think this thing will actually run.
All right, only thing left to do is to give it a go.
Let's do it.
Oh!
Holy cow.
So many weeks. Wow.
Okay, now that we have a little bit of life left in the engine, which is really exciting, the boys focused on the drum brakes. We had to remove the wheels and, of course, focus on the leaky wheel cylinders and the old brake lines, which were everywhere that we had to replace on both the front and rear drums.
Are you fire certified?
You know it.
You know it, baby.
How do you know what size it is before you even look at it?
Experience.
They also went in and replaced the rusty master cylinder with a brand new one and then bled all the lines.
We got the rod transferred. Now we got the studs out of the old master, and we're going to put them in the firewall so they face out. So we can be much easier next time when somebody has to change it.
I gotta tell you, finding and working on these old cars is just amazing. The owners have an amazing story. And then the guys like Tom and Tom Sr. working on these cars and hearing their stories and then having Tom learn from his dad and just watching that all behind the camera, it's just a really special thing to be a part of.
Okay. Good. Good.
Keep in mind, 5 weeks into this project, I had no idea if this engine was actually going to run. The ups and downs of this entire process was crazy. But now that it was actually functioning and running and it sounded great, we changed the oil, the engine oil, we changed the transmission oil. The boys were thrilled. They're like, hey, we can go for a ride if you want. I was like, absolutely. Obviously, more work's going to be needed in the future. But for now, the goal is to get Peter excited about doing whatever it takes to get her back on the road for good.
right, guys, I think they're here. Come on. Hey, what's going on, guys? All right, real good to see you.
Good to see you.
Sir,
How are you?
how are you?
How are you?
Yeah, I'm pretty good. I'm better now. It's been a long 5 weeks getting this thing going back.
5 weeks. Yeah,
5
it's been a
weeks. Remember
while.
when I picked it up? It was snowing. It's 80 degrees right now.
Yeah.
So here's a little recap.
That's one difference.
So we washed it, we cleaned it, we took, there was mice in the trunk, as I'm sure you know.
Really?
Yeah, there was some mice. Once we lifted up that
Oh,
really
what's
cool
that?
cover, yeah, there was a mouse nest in
Public
there.
storage.
Yeah.
Nice.
So we got it all cleaned up, it looked great. We finally got it running. All right? So this is kind of a big moment.
a while.
It's been a while. It's been a while. So I'm super
They
stoked
like
to
to
show you
run.
this. Yes. We also fixed the brakes, and we also did a little bit of something special for you on the wheels as well. So what do you think? You ready to see it?
Open the door.
You hear that?
Oh, wow. Yes, I do. I hear that.
Here she is.
Oh, kidding. Whoa. That is something. That is something.
Check out your new wheels. I just got goosebumps. Look at this.
And it's like a,
What do you think?
that is something.
Tom,
It's
this is Peter.
Tom. How are
Tom
you?
Senior, this is Peter.
Nice to meet you.
How are you?
So these are the two guys that worked tirelessly on this car to get it running, up and running again.
I mean, he's been working on carburetors forever, so he worked on these cars when they were new. He was the right guy for the job.
We played with the brakes, the radiator, and then of course, look at you. You got bling bling wheels now.
Different wheels.
How cool is that?
Same
And new
theme.
rubber.
The same theme.
The same theme. It looks yeah, exactly. That's what when I looked at the originals, they had that American racing, feel, and they're American racing. So we
They're
went back to
American racing,
we went
yeah.
back to American racing and
They're
just
not original.
yeah. And we went a little bit more modern, and so, but it still is in the same genre, so to speak. So it's not something completely different. It's got a nice little stance and a look. We have brand new Vredestein rubber on there. We actually did a little test drive right there. We left a little rubber on the street for you over there. As well, so, well,
Do I need it?
Yeah, no, you can keep that rubber right there, but she runs pretty good. It's a beautiful car.
Yes.
So I'm stoked for it. Now it's 80 degrees, but we do have one thing left to do. You're ready to get in the seat there, and we're gonna go for a ride. You cool with that?
Well, yeah, if you like. I mean,
How cool.
what do you think? That's pretty good. They don't make them like this anymore.
No, they do not. They don't make them like this anymore either.
Well, we're a dying breed.
She's back, huh?
Back. It's nicer now. It used to be a nice machine. Now it's a nicer machine.
Pretty cool.
Thank you all.
You happy? Enjoy.
All right, thank you.
It was super fun doing this.
Was it?
I think we're ready for the parade. What do you think, Tom?
Yeah, let's do it.
Pretty good.
Nothing broken.
Yeah, nothing broken. Except for the mechanic in the back.
That's it. Can't fix that though.
Woohoo! As always, guys, thanks for watching and supporting Ammo. And if you know someone who loves their car but is in some need of extra help, shoot me an email at larry@ammonyc.com. Coming up next week, we have the Ferrari 512 TR and an Aston Martin Valkyrie. I'll see you guys on the next one.